Imagine being ripped from your family and sent to a country you've never even called home. That's precisely what happened to Roman Surovtsev, an immigrant who found himself facing deportation to a land he barely knew. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just a case of mistaken identity. It was a bureaucratic nightmare that exposed the flaws, and some might say, the potential cruelty within the immigration system. Roman's story begins long before his recent detention. Back in 2017, Samantha Surovtsev met her future husband, Roman, while enjoying a day of jet skiing. As their relationship blossomed, Roman was upfront about his past. He explained that he had arrived in the United States as a refugee from the former Soviet Union at the tender age of 4. He also shared that as a teenager, his green card had been revoked following a guilty plea to carjacking and burglary charges in California. After his release from prison in 2014, Roman found himself in the custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. The agency attempted to deport him to both Ukraine and Russia, and this is the part most people miss. Both countries were unable to confirm his citizenship or provide the necessary travel documents for deportation, as he had left the region before the collapse of the Soviet Union. According to legal documents reviewed by NPR, neither country could definitively claim him as a citizen. For years, Roman diligently checked in with ICE annually, seemingly stuck in a bureaucratic limbo. In the meantime, he and Samantha built a life together. They married, started a family, and launched a small commercial painting business in Texas, mirroring the lives of countless other immigrants in the U.S. who find themselves in a stateless situation. Then in early August, the unthinkable happened. What should have been a routine 10-minute check-in at the Dallas ICE field office turned into a terrifying ordeal. Samantha waited anxiously in the parking lot for 30 minutes, desperately hoping her husband wouldn't be detained. There were tears involved, just not knowing what was on the other side of that appointment, Samantha recalled. Her worst fears were confirmed when she received a call. I panicked because it said, "This is a call from a detainee." Roman's detention placed him among a growing number of individuals detained during their regularly scheduled ICE check-ins, a practice some attribute to the administration's push to meet ambitious deportation targets. But here's where it gets controversial. Some argue that these check-ins are being weaponized to target individuals who have otherwise been law-abiding and contributing members of society. Is this a fair assessment or a necessary measure to enforce immigration laws? What sets Roman's case apart is his wife's unwavering determination. Samantha has rallied a team of lawyers to fight for his release. Unlike many others facing deportation, Roman has the opportunity to present his case before a judge. People need to understand that there's a human element involved with immigration, that every story is unique, Samantha emphasized. Every case deserves to be heard in front of a judge. This is not a black and white situation. According to court filings and the Surovtsev's legal team, ICE is now attempting to deport Roman to Ukraine for a second time, despite the fact that Ukraine still lacks the documentation to prove his citizenship. Furthermore, his lawyers argue that deporting him to Ukraine could subject him to being drafted into armed conflict. They contend that his redetention is unconstitutional, as there have been no changes that would make deportation to his place of birth any easier. They also assert that there is not a significant likelihood that Roman would be removed in the reasonably foreseeable future. This raises a critical question. At what point does the pursuit of deportation become a futile and unjust exercise? The absurdity of Roman's situation was further highlighted at the Bluebonnet Detention Center in Texas, a facility that was already operating over its capacity this summer. He was given deportation travel paperwork in Ukrainian, a language he doesn't speak or read, despite being fluent in English. The Justice Department, representing the government, argues that the redetention is legal because the agency has once again requested new travel documents from Ukraine. A deportation officer, Zachary Haggerty, stated in a court declaration that he believes Roman could potentially be deported to a third country, if not Ukraine. Meanwhile, Roman's legal team achieved a significant victory by successfully vacating his carjacking conviction. They argued that he was not adequately informed of the potential consequences to his immigration status when he pleaded guilty as a teenager. "It's not a complex question. It's not a discretionary issue," stated Eric Lee, a partner at Lee and Godshall Bennett, one of the law firms handling the case. "He's going to get his green card back in a matter of time, which only makes it all the more callous and absurd that the administration continues to try and remove him to a country to which removal is effectively going to be a death sentence. In the 2 months that Roman has been detained, he has missed significant milestones, including his wedding anniversary, his wife and daughter's birthdays, and his mother's recent health issues. Samantha has been forced to cancel approximately 2 months' worth of jobs for their painting business, leaving their 2 employees without work. Samantha spends her days turning down work leads and informing customers about the family emergency. Instead, she dedicates her time to working with attorneys across the country to vacate her husband's conviction, reinstate his green card, and secure his release from detention. Immigration advocates argue that the administration's rapid approach to increasing arrests and removals undermines the limited due process afforded to immigrants. They emphasize that due process is essential to minimize errors and prevent the removal of individuals who may have valid claims to remain in the country. Lawyers assert that the administration has taken steps to erode due process. There have been reports of immigration officers making arrests in court, even when judges have instructed immigrants to return for their cases. Furthermore, the Department of Homeland Security has mandated that immigrants be detained throughout their proceedings, particularly those who entered the country without legal status. Yet there are lots of people in this situation, and there have been several habeas cases filed over the summer on very similar facts regarding redetention, noted Chris Godshall Bennett, a constitutional and civil rights attorney and another member of Roman's legal team, referring to the legal avenue for challenging unlawful detention. The process can be lengthy, and the majority of individuals in immigration detention and immigration court lack legal representation to effectively argue their cases. Lee, the other attorney on Roman's case, believes that the government is attempting to accomplish what it has already proven incapable of doing: deporting Roman to Ukraine. The danger here is not simply that people will be sent somewhere wrongly. The danger is that the government is going to do it on purpose, in a way that disregards those protections, Lee warned. By disregarding those protections for a subset of individuals, it has opened the door to disregarding them. Period. Roman's story raises profound questions about the fairness and effectiveness of the immigration system. Is it just to continue pursuing deportation when a person's country of origin cannot confirm their citizenship? What responsibility does the government have to ensure due process and avoid inflicting unnecessary hardship on families? And perhaps most importantly, how can we strike a balance between enforcing immigration laws and upholding fundamental human rights? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Roman's detention is justified, or is it an example of the system gone wrong?